find I participate better when I'm in person.
Okay, so we are on the start of the new paragraph on Shabbos. We're right before the Mishnah on Kuf Mem Amud Beis, 140b. And I said I owe you a correction from yesterday on Shabbos.
Oh, right.
So the correction is as follows. We're just going to go back for 1 second to the top line of 140a because we were struggling yesterday to figure it out. So all it means was the Gemara had a question that it sounds like whenever there's a little bit of property left, the sons get nothing. So the Gemara understood that to mean even after you give the daughters property, if now there's a little bit left for the sons, they get nothing. So on that, the Gemara said, no, that's not what it means. It means when in general you have a little property, then the sons get nothing. But we don't calculate that, after the daughters get their portion. That's not what it meant. Only when it's total. When the total is after the daughters, if there's only a meager amount, then the sons get nothing. And if there's more than that, then the sons will get something. Okay. 140b says the Gemara is going on the last part of the Mishnah. So the Mishnah was talking about when you have a lot of property, so the sons get their portion, they biblically inherit, and the daughters get sustained. When you have a little bit of a portion of an inheritance, so then if there's not enough, then then the daughters will get whatever they need to get.
Excuse me, 140B,
yeah.
The Mishnah.
What'd you say?
140B.
140B right before the Mishnah.
Right before the Mishnah.
There's 2 dots before the Mishnah.
Okay.
So the end of the Mishnah said that the end of the Mishnah said as follows. It said that there's only a little bit left, so then the sons lose out because they have to go knocking door to door for their money. So that was the first opinion of the Mishnah. The second opinion of the Mishnah was a cryptic statement from Rabbi Gamliel, and he said, so Admon said, because I'm a Zachar, because I'm a male, I lose out. And Rabbi Gamliel says, I side. I understand the opinion of Admon more than the Tanakama. So we're asking now, Ma'ikamer, what does it mean, because I'm a male, I lose out? It's a very cryptic statement. How do you understand that? Ma'ikamer. Amar Abaye, very interesting. Hakikamer. Bishvil shani zachar. Viroi ani lasok b'torah. Hefsaditi. Abaye understands it to mean that since I'm a male and I have a higher obligation of learning Torah, therefore I should lose out. It's very interesting. Abaye understands it now that the amount you get for your inheritance, right? Mm-hmm. It wouldn't be. He doesn't understand how, even if you have a little bit of money, but I'm the one that's fitting to learn Torah. And I'm going to lose out because of that. How could it be? So that's how he understands that line. Amarle Rabba, though, Rabba answers back, Ela me'ata, if that's true, man da asik b'Torah hu di yaris, and the lo asik b'Torah lo yaris. Rabba is saying, well, what does that mean? Only if the male is actually studying Torah, then he will inherit. And if you're basing the inheritance on learning Torah, so how far do you take it? You check the guy and say, oh, no, sorry, you don't go to Daf Yomi. You won't get the inheritance. And the guy does go to Daf Yomi, we'll get the inheritance. So Rabbi says, no. He understands the mission like this. Ela marava hakikamer. B'shvil shani zachar, v'roi ani liyarish b'nechasim. Merubin, if sadati b'nechasim watim. So listen, I'm a male. Biblically, I'm the one supposed to get the money. When there's enough money, I get it. Mm-hmm. Right? I get it. Now there's a little bit of money, I should lose out everything. So that he doesn't understand. So that's what Admon said, and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel said, I understand Admon better. So it comes out at the end of the day, 2 opinions. When you don't have enough money to support both a son and a daughter, meaning if you have enough money, either it means to support a daughter for a year or until she becomes 12 and a half years old, and you have more than that, so she'll get her portion, and the son will get his portion. But if you do not have enough, so the first opinion said the daughter gets everything and the son has to go knocking on the doors. And the second opinion says, no, the son and the daughter will both get. They'll both get what they need. And the son does not have to go knocking on the doors.
No. What if there's not enough for both of them? I guess then
there's not enough for both of them, then there's a disagreement. you make the son go knocking, or do you give him part of the inheritance also? So meaning, how far did the rabbis go when they want to support a daughter? Did they go so far to say, when there's not enough money, she's first priority, and if there's nothing left over for the son, too bad? Or they said, no, she also gets, but he doesn't lose out fully. He'll also get some. Okay.
Well,
Now, next Mishnah. The topic of the discussion is going to be a tumtum. So a tumtum, we had this a little bit earlier. It's actually going to be two opinions now exactly what a tumtum is. So genetically, it seems like he's someone who's born with both male and female features, and they're covered over. Tumtum is like a covering. It means covering. So now there's going to be a disagreement. Does that make him just, we don't know. He's a doubt. It's in doubt. Is he a male? Is he a female? The other opinion is actually going to hold that he is his own creation. It's his own thing. Not that he's a doubtful male or female. It's its own thing called a tumtum. Okay, we'll see for what practical difference does that mean. So now, hiniach banim and banos. A father dies and leaves over sons and daughters. Vid tumtum and a tumtum. So now, what's going to happen is a lot of property left over, enough to support everybody. So bizman shenechasam Reuben hazacharim dochin also eitzon nekevos. So there's a lot of property here. So what happens? Everyone agrees that when there's a lot of property, the male, the sons, for sure get. So comes the tumtum knocking on the son's door and says, listen, I want some too. They said, you go to the girls, go to our sisters, don't come to us. So they're dochen so eitzon nekevos. Okay. Nechasim muatin, if there's very little property, so what happens? The daughters get. So now the guy comes knocking on the door and says, listen, I want some too. So hanekevos dochen so eitzon charim. Said, go to our brothers. Meaning each one who's fit to get the inheritance is allowed to push away the tumtum. Why? So listen, you have to bring a proof that you're a male, or you have to bring a proof that you're a female. If you can't do that, what right do you have to our property? So that's the first halachas in the Mishnah. The next case is someone is either on their deathbed or they just want to give money through an agent to their fetus. We're going to see either at the end of today or tomorrow. What does that mean? Can a fetus acquire things? We're going to prove from different parts of Shas. Maybe yeah, maybe not. But for now, it says HaOmer, the father says, his wife is pregnant. And I guess he didn't check the sonograms to who it's going to be, a boy or a girl. So he says, Im Taled Ishti. I guess they didn't have them back then yet. So Im Taled Ishti Zachar Yitol Mana. If my wife gives birth to a male, I want that fetus to have a mana, 100 zuz. So now, Yalda Zachar Yitol Mana. She gives birth to a male. Then he takes 100 zuz. Right in the middle of the Mishnah, 140. Yeah. So, okay. Nikeva, if she's a girl, I want her to have 200 zuz. Yalda Nikeva, tell us Masayim. So now, what if he says the following? Im Zachar Mana, Im Nikeva Masayim. So the Rashbam points out it doesn't mean right now that if she has twins. He just is a general statement. If it's a boy, 100. If it's a girl, 200. So now what happened? The Yalda Zachar Unikeva, and the wife ends up giving birth to either a Zachar or a Nikeva. Zachar no tel mana and Nikeva no telas Masayim. Okay. Fourth case. Yalda Tumtum. Oh, but now she gives birth to a Tumtum. So ain't a no-tell. 0. Once again, you got to bring a proof. If you're Zachar and Nikeva, if you're a doubt, so I don't owe you the money. Im Amar, a fifth case. Im Amar kol mashitelet ishti yitol, then hareza yitol. If he says whatever she gives birth to, then that person can take, then even a tumtum can take, because he was also born to his wife. The im ein sham yoresh elahu yoresh esakol. And if if the tumtum is the only one who's born, so then he is the one that's going to inherit everything. Yeah, he'll get everything.
He does not take anything.
Yeah. Yeah, so if he's the only one that's around and there's no one else to inherit, the tumtum will inherit. Okay. So says the Gemara on this idea that we, so to speak, push away a tumtum, meaning, if he comes collecting by the males, they say, go to the females. So we say, Dochenoso, the shakil kibas. The male pushes him away, pushes the tumtum away, and says, you can go collect, from the daughters. But then it says, Hakatani Seifa, Yolda Tumtum, Ein a Notel. So in the beginning of the Mishnah, we say that if you give birth to a tumtum, and now he wants to collect, so we push him away. So the sons say, me, go to the girls. So it sounds like he really gets money like a girl, because the first line in the Mishnah is saying, if he comes knocking at the boys' doors, the brothers' doors, he could say, go collect by our sisters. Sounds like he could really collect like a sister. If that's true, then how come when the father says, if this baby's a girl and it ends up being a tumtum, the kid gets nothing? Do you have a status like a sister, like the daughter, or not? The beginning of the Mishnah implies that the brothers can push away the tumtum, and the tumtum will collect like one of the sisters. But the other part of the Mishnah sounds like if the father promises the daughter money, if it's a daughter, he promises her $200, 200 zuz, so it has to be a daughter. If it's a tumtum, then he doesn't get. So which one is it? So Amar Abaye, Dochen Oso, the Einlo. What it meant was in the beginning of the Mishnah, when the father leaves over sons and daughters, and the tumtum goes to the sons and says, I want my money, so we push him away. Not that we push him away and say, now you're allowed to collect like our sister. It just means we push you away and you collect nothing. So meaning a tumtum gets nothing. If he gets nothing, it's consistent with the next part of the Mishnah, that whether he's inheriting or whether the father's promising a fetus money, at the end of the day, the tumtum gets nothing.
And if you look at the two statements of the Mishnah together, it also proves that point. Because all
yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
I didn't get what was the
first
point.
statement.
So
If it goes to the brothers say go to the sisters.
Yeah,
If it goes to the sisters, the sisters say go to
go to
the
the
brothers.
brothers.
Okay.
So the Rashbam says that's where Abai got it from. The Rashbam says that you push him towards the Nekevos, he doesn't get anything. And with the Nekevos, you go back to the Zechar, and he also gets nothing. Right, meaning, right. I guess you could have understood the Mishnah which I guess maybe is the Gemara's question. You could have understood the Mishnah that when he goes to the Zecharim, to the boys, and he gets pushed to the girls, he collects like a girl. But if he goes to the girls first, and they push him to the boys, he collects like a boy. That'd be hard to understand. That'd be hard to understand how that works. Yeah. Okay, yeah, very good. So that's all about it. But Rava is going to argue. The Rava Omer Dochen Oso v'Yeshlo. Rava actually now your question is going to be even more of a question, because Rava says that we push him away and he actually collects, meaning at the end of the day he should collect something. If you don't know if it's a boy or a girl, give him the minimal amount. So whatever it's going to play out, the minimal amount he should get. So but then okay. So there's Ram's bother with what you said, meaning Rava said you should push him to the women, to the sisters, and he should get. But that part of the Mishnah, when he gets pushed back to the boys, he's not going to collect, because he can only collect the minimal amount. If we don't know if you're a male or a female, you can only collect minimally like a female. But when he gets pushed over to the Scharim, he's not going to be able to collect. Yeah, good. Yeah, good. Yeah, good. So the Rav Amar Dochen Oso v'Yeshlo. Now, if he actually collects something, minimally he'll collect, whatever the daughters will, he'll collect like a daughter. So then how come in the end of the Mishnah, where the father promises that if this fetus is a girl, he wants to give the fetus $200, how come in that case the tumtum collects zero? In the beginning of the Mishnah, he collects the inheritance like his sisters do. But at the end of the Mishnah, it sounds like if he's the lucky fetus that's born and the father promised the daughter 200, he does not get 200. So it says the Gemara, that's the opinion of a Seifa Asan. Who's the Seifa? Like according to who is the end of the Mishnah? Li Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel. So, what's the opinion of Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel? As we learned in the Mishnah, Yalda Tumtum ve'Androgynous. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel Omer Ein Kedusha Chala Aleihen. So, what's the case over there? The case over there is an interesting case. I believe it's dealing with animals. And one of the animals is about to give birth to a firstborn. And you say that if the firstborn, instead of it, being a firstborn animal, you wanted to say that it's going to be an ola or a shlomim. So you say that which is in, let's say a cow, that which is in the cow's womb. So if it's a zachar, I want it to be an ola. I want it to be a korban ola. And if it's in a keva, if it's a female cow, I want it to be a korban shlomim. So in that case, so you sort of usurped the firstborn status of that animal, and now you're going to be chayav. You're obligated to bring it as either an ola or a shlomim. Now,
It has a blemish in its form.
so then that's a good question. So sometimes it depends what kind of blemish it is. If it's a blemish that never goes away, so then it's then you might need to leave it until it dies. Sometimes you could redeem it and use the money to buy another animal. I don't. Yeah, good question. I don't remember exactly the rules. We have to wait for Bechoros. But what happens if that animal is a tumtum or an androgynous? So on that, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says over there in Tamura that there's no kedusha on that animal. Why? Because Rabbi Shimon Gamliel is of the interesting opinion, a unique opinion, that a tumtum is not someone who we're not sure who he is. Are you a male? Are you a female? Rather, it's its own creation. It's its own separate creation. There's a male, a female, a tumtum. It's its own thing. So therefore, since the father said, if it's a male, it'll be an ola. If it's a female, it'll be a shlomim. If it's a tumtum, so it's neither. So therefore, in our case, that the end of the Mishnah says that if you promise that if it's a girl, you're going to give it 200, and it comes out being a tumtum, that's its own creation. That's not a male, not a female. It's not a doubt. It's its own thing. So if it's its own thing, so then you are going to get nothing. But the beginning of the Mishnah, according to Rava, which implies you get something, obviously holds that it's not like the opinion of Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. So the beginning of the Mishnah is not Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, and the end of the Mishnah is Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. 2 lines from the bottom, 140b. Meisvei, now we're going to have a question. Meisvei, it says that what? Tumtum yoresh kiben v'nizon kibas. A tumtum, so there's a brisa somewhere that says that a tumtum can inherit like a son and be sustained like a daughter. Okay, so let's see. So Bishlam Rava, according to Rava, who told us that a tumtum does inherit something, the brothers can push him away and he'll collect with the sisters. So then it makes sense. Yoresh kiben, when it doesn't mean he inherits like a son, it means he'll inherit like a son. That just like a son, when there's very meager inheritance left over, the sons get nothing. So then the tumtum will also get nothing. Because once again, according to Rava, he's a real doubt, right? Mm-hmm. So you're always going to get the minimal amount, not the maximum amount. So in the event that there's a very small inheritance, so then the tumtum's going to knock on the girls' doors, and they're going to say, "Go fly a kite." You have to bring a proof that you're a girl. So he'll be pushed towards the men and get nothing, right? However, so that's what it means. He's yoresh kiben. That wording fits well with Rava. He's yoresh kiben. He's a doubt. We don't know what he is. So when it comes to nechasim muatim, very meager property, he'll get the minimal amount. In this case, it's going to be like a son who gets nothing. V'nizon kibas. However, he'll be sustained like a daughter. When is that going to happen? V'nechasim merubin. When there's a large inheritance, then the sons will push him to the daughter, so to speak, and he'll collect like a daughter. But according to, yeah?
This is such a rare phenomenon. I'm wondering why they chose to spend so much time on this issue.
On a tumtum?
Yes.
So you could because it comes up a lot. Tumtum.
I know it does, but
So
I
you
don't,
could-
I don't think I've run into any of them around usually.
So you could answer maybe, I don't know, one of three answers. One, you could answer it was more common. It just was more common back in the day. You have to check the history books. That's one. Number two is even if it's not common, but whenever you have the rare case, you can learn from there, rules that might apply in other situations. So for instance, a tumtum is an example of someone who's in doubt. Now let's see if other examples of doubts. You have an animal that's born and for some reason it's a doubt. You're really not sure. It has a defect. So maybe from the outlying cases you can learn to other cases. And third answer, I don't know right now. But so according to Abai, though, Abai says you get nothing. Atonda gets nothing. So what does this brisa mean? He's Yoresh Keben, Ben Nizonis Kebas. According to Abai, your Yoresh can't nobody, and Nizonis can't nobody. Because according to Abai, you get nothing. So we're bringing a question on Abai. It sounds like according to Rava, you can fit that language into Rava's opinion. According to Abai, that's not going to fit in with that opinion. So Elul Abai, Mai Nizon Kebas. So on that, Abai says, hold on. Ulatamech, meaning Ulatamech is always taking your reasoning and flipping it back on your head. So according to your reasoning, Ulatamech LeRava, Mai Yoresh is Keben. I mean, when you saw the word Yoresh, you interpret it to mean he inherits like a son who gets nothing. So what does it mean he inherits like a son? It really means he doesn't actually inherit anything. Elo Roi Liorish. He's fitting to inherit, but he gets nothing. So Roi Liorish ve'enlo. So according to me, Abai, you could read those words the same way. Hachanami Roi Lizon ve'enlo. Yeah, he's fitting to be sustained and gets nothing. Meaning, since you Rava, even you agree that the first part of that brisa, the tumtum gets nothing. And you understood the words you're fitting to inherit to mean you, not that you actually inherit, but you'd be fitting to inherit, but you get nothing. So me too, I'll also interpret those words. You're fitting to be sustained and you get nothing. Why do you get nothing? Because I hold that a tumtum gets nothing. So at the end of the day, since you're not taking those words so literally either, I can do the same thing back. You don't agree. You agree that a Yoresh Keben doesn't mean Yoresh Keben. So I'll agree that when it says a Nizonis Kebas, it doesn't mean Nizonis Kebas either. Therefore, not such a question. Okay. So now we said if a person says if the fetus is born and it's a boy, you get 100, and if it's a girl, it's going to be 200. So interesting question in the Gemara. Lemeimer, is that to say the bas adifa lemi ben? Is that to say that a daughter is preferable to a son? So Mrs. Gunner came on a good day. So the bas adifa lemi ben. It sounds like, but now once again, whatever better and good means in our heads, erase that meaning, right? Meaning everything is judged in certain aspects. There's a certain aspect of something. We don't mean in society you give them more honor. We don't mean that. Zero things that mean good and preferable in our head is what it's saying. And there's a certain aspect of it that that it sounds like is preferable, not preferable. And that's what we're asking. Everything's very detailed and precise. So there's no general statements. Everything is understood in different, broken down. So now, is that to say that a bas, a deeply ben, having a daughter is 200? It's greater than a son, is only 100. That's what this guy seems to imply when he says, but ha'amar Rabbi Yochanan, mishum Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai. We have a statement that we had earlier. We're going to see that this needs more interpretation, but leaving over a son means that your inheritance will go to him. Having that is a very, 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 very special thing. If you don't leave over a son, so then your inheritance and your property can't be passed over in the family. Why? Because the daughter will get married to somebody else, and it's going to go now under their name.
Just learned like a couple weeks ago in this sector that
Yeah.
if you don't have a son, God's angry at you.
Oh, same Gemara. So, okay, what angry means? Okay, once again, everything is very detailed in and we asked Dan to, what does it mean? If you try to have a kid, like I'm still not sure what the case is talking about. He's saying at someone who tried to have a son. I don't know what it means. Simply, it would mean is that you see the importance of passing over the family inheritance over, to continue on in the family. I mean, we know Stei Achuza. Stei Achuza is the land that's has been in the family for a long time. It goes back during Yovel. his original owners. It's Yeah. So Amar Rabbi Yochanan mentioned Rabbi Shimon Kol Shein Maniach Ben. If you don't leave over a son, Liyorsho, to inherit you, Hakadosh Baruch Hu, Mali Love Evra. There's a lot of anger seems to be from Hashem. Shenemar va'avartim es nachal lebito literally means it's going to pass over the lineage to your daughter. However, the word can be understood also of ein ha'avara ela evra. Not only passing over, but it means a certain level of anger. There's always different verbs when you refer, so to speak, to Hashem and his midos and his actions. There's charon, there's af, there's every. You have to know each one what that means. Why didn't say charon af? But in the Chumash says charon. So you have to know what this level of anger is. Shenamar in Zechariah it says Yom Evra Yomahu. That day is going to be a day of anger. So therefore, the word ever is referring to anger, and therefore it sounds like really be preferable to leave over a son and not a daughter. So how does that fit with the Mishnah? Le'inyan Yerusha ben adiflei. Le'inyan harvacha bito adiflei. When it comes to just someone to inherit you, then a son is preferable. Our Mishnah is talking about you want to give more money. Who do you want to give more money to? When it comes to giving more money, then a daughter is preferable. I don't know if the Rashbam says in there, but I think one explanation, he does say a daughter is preferable. Why? Because she's more, at least back then, probably in certain areas nowadays also, she's not able to go knocking door to door in the same way that a son could do it.
Provide for her more.
Exactly, want to provide for her.
Right.
So sometimes it's a practical thing. That's just not what women did.
Mhm.
And other times the Gemara use it as Kivoda Bas Melech Penima. The Gemara invokes a verse that says that the honor of a daughter of a king is always more private. Women are always more tznuah. Tznius is much more. They're more private. Maybe there's that. But either way, it's definitely harder for her to go and collect.
But if a man has a grandson too, right? Eventually that'll come back to his. We like having a son, kind of.
That's a good point.
Because if it goes to the inheritance goes to the paternal side,
I hear what you're
it
saying.
can come back to his grandchildren.
Say the daughter.
Yeah, but
It will still be a paternal line. Yeah.
If the daughter dies, then it goes to the husband.
Yeah.
And if the husband dies, then go to his kids. No, so it'd be the husband's kids now.
Still be the husband's kid.
You're right. If the husband would die first or something, and then the woman would die, and if you go, don't make a business out of it. Kill the husband first. So that's all it means. So it comes to leaving a son over. A son has a certain level of preference; it'll stay in that line. When it comes to who you want to give more money to, that a daughter is preferable, so that she doesn't have to go collecting as much, hopefully at all. So, okay. V'Shmuel Amar. Okay, so Shmuel says Hacha be mevakeres askinan udi Rav Chisda. We're talking about our Mishnah that says a daughter is going to get 200. We're talking about who is born first. The daughter being born first has a certain level of priority over the son. Interesting. Why? Rav Chisda bas techila is a simin yafa lebanim. If you have a daughter first, it's a good omen. It's a good sign for the children, for the boys afterwards. Why? So
you save an opinion of Ben.
That's you save money.
Save money there.
So what's the reason? So Ika Amri that she's actually going to be more useful. She'll be able to help raise the sons.
Her mother.
Like another mother.
School next know about this.
I have 8 first cousins in Israel, much older than me. So the first two were sons, and the third one was a daughter. And all I hear about is that she was the second mother, even though she was the third daughter, but she took care of everybody. So it was 8 kids in one small apartment in Bnei Brak for many years. She was the big help. So one is the daughter is much more helpful. So that's what it means. So therefore, she's going to get more money. Or the other interpretation is that a daughter first, there won't be as much of an ayin hara, an evil eye. People won't be as jealous. Well, why won't they be as jealous? I don't know. I feel like the article explains. I don't know. I guess a son first could lead to more. It's because if you have a son first, then the son gets the firstborn, and then his brothers are going to be jealous of him. You have a daughter first, it's going to save jealousy. So 2 reasons. Yeah. So next time you're asked to speak at someone's kiddush for having their first daughter, Remember, Kuf Mamal from Bava Batra, you have what to say. So, yeah. So that was going to prepare for your speeches, right? So, Amar Rav Chisda says, I know a rabbi who, when he was learning the parak in Masechah Shabbos, called Rabbi Eliezer the Mila, all about halachas of bris milah.
Yeah.
So he prepared like 7 or 8 bris milah speeches. Now, obviously, Hashem had it that he ended up having more boys than enough speeches. He had like 9 or 10 boys. So he ran out of speeches. But when he was learning it, he prepared in advance. So Amar Rav Chisda Uledidi Bantan Adif Ali Mi Banai. Rav Chisda says, and he actually said this, for me, a daughter was preferable to a son. Okay, so now the Ibais Ema Hamani Rabbi Yehuda. Maybe our Mishnah that's giving more money to a daughter is of the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Says the Gemara, hey Rabbi Yehuda, which Rabbi Yehuda? Elema Rabbi Yehuda. If you tell me the Rabbi Yehuda, the Bakol, meaning Rabbi Yehuda, who had an opinion about the verse that stated about Avram Avinu that Hashem blessed him with Bakol. Right, we're saying and mentioning Bakol Mikol Kol. Yeah. So what's Bakol? Hashem blessed Avram Avinu with everything. Bakol. What's Bakol? So maybe it's that Rabbi Yehuda. So let's see. The Tanya Hashem Beirach as Avram Bakol. Hashem blessed Avram Avinu Bakol. So now Rabbi Meir Omer, everything means Shalo Hayalo Bas. He blessed him with everything because he didn't have a daughter. What does that mean? We just said having a daughter is good. So I think they explained that if he had a daughter, then who's she going to marry? So she have to marry somebody from the Canaanites, and he didn't want that. He didn't want her to marry people that were full of avodah zarah. So that's why Hashem spared him by not giving him a daughter, rather giving him a son. I guess you can ask the same question. Even if he has a son, though, who's the son going to marry? He'll also have to marry somebody from another nation. Okay, I don't know how to answer that. Maybe a daughter.
It seems to indicate that he would influence her into avodah zarah.
Interesting. So
But
if you
then
had,
we'll talk about the other way.
I guess the other way not. Meaning, so if you had a daughter first and she was married someone from another nation who is worships avodah zarah, he would influence the daughter badly, as opposed to Yitzchak. So as opposed to Yitzchak, who, interesting, he ended up marrying Rivka, even though she came from a house of avodah zarah, but she herself wasn't over avodah zarah. Either way, that's the opinion of Reb Meir. God blessed him with everything. Everything means not a daughter. Reb Yehuda, which is what we need, says no. Omer Shahaisa Lo Bas. He had a daughter, Ubakol Shma. He named her Bakol. That was the daughter's name. I don't know if it's a common name nowadays, but he had a daughter and her name was Bakol. Everything. Yeah. That might definitely create some animosity in the family. Imagine every time you call your daughter, you call her everything, Son loses out, he has a different name. So that's one opinion. Also, what do you see that Rabbi Yehuda says takes a preference? He called his daughter everything. So maybe that's the opinion of our Mishnah over here that says the daughter gets 200. Says the Gemara, no. Aimer the Shama say Rabbi Yehuda. Aimer the Shama say Rabbi Yehuda Barta Nami Lo Chaser Achmana Le Avraham. But the Adifa mi Ben mi Shamislei. All we see from Rabbi Yehuda is that Avram didn't lose out because Hashem gave him a daughter. He wasn't losing out. He didn't only have a son, he also had a daughter. But you don't see from Rabbi Yehuda that a daughter is preferable to a son. Our Mishnah implied she gets 200, a son gets 100. So if you're going to say our Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda, and you want to say it to this Rabbi Yehuda, from this Rabbi Yehuda, all we see is that he didn't lose out, and therefore he gave her a daughter. But you don't see that a daughter is preferable to a son. I guess calling her Bakal doesn't mean that she's preferable to Yitzchak. It just means she's, he didn't deprive her of a daughter. So it's interesting here. I'm just thinking now that, why would it be called depriving if he didn't give her a daughter? He gave her a daughter. He didn't deprive her. He gave her a daughter. So
Have help.
you have help. Okay, so I'm thinking that there's a machlokus in Yevamos by the mitzvah pruruvu, be fruitful, multiply. Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai.
Yeah.
So Beis Hillel says one boy and one girl, you fulfilled your mitzvah. So maybe that's what it is. If he didn't have a daughter, maybe he would be lacking in that mitzvah. Now, if the son ends up having, I think, a son and a daughter, I think the Gemara there says that could also work. The Shammai says 2 sons, 2 daughters. Either way, maybe that's why it's called. He gave her a daughter. Now he's not deprived because the
He's
first mitzvah of the
deprived.
Torah. Maybe. Okay, just a suggestion popped in right now. So now, Ella ha Rabbi Yehuda. Maybe it's the following Rabbi Yehuda. The Tanya, mitzvah lazon esabanos, v'kal v'chomer lebanim, the aski b'Torah, divrei Rabbi Meir. The Brisa tells us that it's a mitzvah. It's a very meritorious thing to support your daughters. In general, give them money. It's good. And kal v'chomer, and for sure your sons, so they can go and learn Torah. But give money towards Torah. So, by the way, the Gemara says in Mesechus Beitza that there are a few things that you give money to, and they're not taken off your account. One of them is money for Shabbos. Spend money for Shabbos. Hashem gives you X amount of money from Rosh Hashanah, from next Rosh Hashanah. Money spent on Shabbos is not taken off your bill at all. Another example, less known, is money spent for kids' tuition. Your children can learn Torah is another thing that's Jared, why are you laughing? So different Reb Meir. Reb Yehuda Omer, mitzvah. So now Reb Yehuda says the opposite. Mitzvah lazon esabanim, it's a mitzvah to support your sons. V'kal v'chomer lebanos, for sure your daughters, meaning daughters are more preferable. Give them more money. Why? Delo lidzalan, that they shouldn't be disgraced. You shouldn't make it disgraceful to make your daughter go begging door to door. So for sure you should give her. Buy a son, it's not as disgraceful. So he doesn't have enough money. Okay, he's gonna go. He's gonna go and support himself. But a daughter more so. That's what do you see from Rabbi Yehuda? He says a daughter is more preferable than a son. That would fit with our Mishnah. That if it's a daughter, you're gonna give her more money than a son. Okay.
The daughters spend more money.
Daughters
Like,
need-
look at my grandkids. The boys don't spend hardly anything. The girls are buying all kinds of clothes.
right, right.
They need more.
It's true.
Boys don't buy video games and electronics and,
Not so much.
Not so much. so okay, we'll fight about who buys more stuff later.
There we go.
So Ella Hadatanya, I guess it really depends on the grandparents, right?
Right.
I guess Jules bought less video games in his life, so his grandsons bought.
We didn't have too many.
Mrs. Cutner bought more video games, so her sons, grandsons are buying. So Ella Hadatanya, the Brisa says Yalda Zachar v'Nikeva. Oh, but now we have another Brisa. Okay, hopefully we'll be able to finish it. The Brisa says like this: once again, a father is saying, if Yalda Zachar v'Nikeva, if we're going to have a son or a daughter, so the following: Zachar notel shisha dinarim. The son will get 6 dinarim. So each dinner is going to be I think 25 zuz. So if you have, I think is how it works. So if you have 150 zuz, I believe. V'anikeva notelas shnei dinarim. Anikeva, if it's a girl, it's going to be 2 dinarim. So what's 2 dinarim? It's going to end up being, I think, 50 zuz. So now, yeah, okay. So now let's see. So b'mai, what exactly are we talking about? So Amar of Ashi, or the Gemara, they change it to Heichim Mishal. What's the case that a son's going to get 6 and a daughter's going to get 2? So Amar of Ashi, Amrisa l'shayta kamei Rav Kahana. I said this in front of Rav Kahana. And he told me the following. Be misaris. What it means is he split up, literally means to cut away. He split up his stipulation in the following way. This is what the father said. The Amar, Zachar techila masayim. Nikeva acharav v'lo klub. If the firstborn's a son, and afterwards is going to come a daughter, so then the son gets 200 and the daughter gets nothing. Oh, we're talking about twins, I think. Yeah, we're talking about twins. So now there's twins. Now, it's interesting how back then they knew if they were twins. I guess they knew. I don't know. It's interesting. So he says about twins, if the first one's a male, 200, and then if it's a daughter afterwards, she gets nothing. Now, if it's a daughter first, she gets a mana. Nekeva dechila mana, zachar achareha mana. So a daughter, if she's first, she gets 1 mana, and if the second one's a male, he'll also get a mana. Okay. So once again, if it's a son first, you get 200, and a daughter gets nothing. If it's a daughter first, the daughter gets 100, and the son gets 100. Okay. So now what happened? The Yalda, Zachar v'Nekeva, both a male and female twins were born. Below Yadinan, Heiminayu, and we don't know which one came out first. I've heard stories of this. We have twin boys, and it's time for the bris, and they actually don't know which one's first. So they asked the father. The father's like, "You have to ask my wife." So, and she knew exactly which one's first. Yeah. So now we don't know which one's first. So what happens? So now the son is minimally owed 100, because if he's the firstborn, he gets 200. If he was a secondborn, he gets 100. So now Nafak Beresha Zach. So Heiminayu Nafak Beresha. So Zachar Shakil Mana Mimanav Shach. A Zachar gets a mana 100 zuz, either way you slice it. So now the other mana, so now the daughter, really, maybe she should get 100, because in the event that she was the firstborn, she should get really 200. In the event that she was the secondborn, she should get nothing. So she's fighting over 100. At least she should get 100. But that 100 we don't know about. So that 100 we say the idach mana have a moment of it's money which is in doubt, and therefore we're going to split it. Okay, we're gonna split it. I don't know if the Gemara's finished asking its question, or it's gonna wait till we figure everything out yet. But right now we see though that a son who's born first gets 200. At least right now we see that's definitely different than our Mishnah. That said a daughter is born first, she gets 200. Now you could simply answer just two different people talking. Now this father felt he should give his daughter more, and this father felt he should give his son. I don't know why we don't ask that. Fine. So either way, so now we're going to ask on this brisa. So it says v'hadatanya yalda zachar v'nekeva ainli elamana heichi mishkakasla. Now this father had another statement. Okay, we'll try to get this before it's time. This brisa, one thing, this brisa said that yalda zachar v'nekeva, if you're going to have twins, so then the zach. 1 second. Yeah, if the firstborn is born first as a male, he gets 200. The daughter, if she's born first, so then she'll get 100. And then it said, 1 second. V'hadatanya yalda zachar v'nekeva ainli elamana heichi mishkachasla. So what's that case where it says in the brisa, if it's a male and a female, so then someone's only going to get 100. 1 second. Are we asking on the same brisa that was just stated, or we're asking on our Mishnah? I think we're asking on the Mishnah. Yeah. So it says, but the brisa says there's a brisa that says yalda zachar v'nekeva, if it's going to be a male and a female, so then ainli elamana. So someone's only going to get a mana. So what case is that talking about? It's 8 o'clock.